Welcome to Across Africa, our weekly look at stories from across the continent. I'm Georja Calvin-Smith, and this week, a top flight management school in Ouagadougou raises the bar for students by offering creature comforts and future-focused curricula. But pupils have to hold up their end and face tough standards in expected conduct and performance. Also, the 60th Annecy International Animation Festival kicked off in France with an African flavour. Talent from the continent was front and centre to the theme of this year's event. And international afrobeats heavyweight Mr Eazi speaks to me about the global appetite for sounds from the continent that's ramped up over the last half-decade or so. But first, it is exam time for students across the continent. One private university in Burkina Faso has been trying to raise the bar for the conditions in which young people study. But that comes with some pretty strict rules and high expectations. Our correspondent reports.
It's 7:55 a.m. in Ouagadougou. Every Monday morning, these young men and women line up like soldiers and sing the national anthem as the national flag is raised. Students at the IAM Ouaga campus follow a strict dress code, and there's zero tolerance for latecomers.
On est à cheval sur la rigueur. Vous voyez que ce matin, tous ceux qui sont venus en retard n'ont pas été acceptés dans la cour de l'école.
When Ahmed Diallo created the IAM University in 2007, his ambition was to create a Pan-African institution that changed regional standards. Today, the IAM welcomes 1,500 students of 17 African nationalities in an ultra-modern American-style campus.
J'ai choisi IAM parce que IAM forme des cadres et les cours se déroulent normalement, pas de grève ici. Une des choses que j'ai appris déjà, c'est la ponctualité. Et depuis que je suis à IAM, je viens toujours à l'heure.
But the IAM remains an exception. Most public universities in Burkina Faso are overcrowded and rely on dilapidated infrastructure. In Burkina Faso, nearly 80% of universities are state-run. However, more teachers are drawn to private institutions where there are 4 times fewer students and better conditions for both faculty and learners.
Now, the 60th edition of the Annecy International Animated Film Festival made a welcome post-pandemic return here in France. This year's edition put African talent front and centre. Ellen Gainsford and Eloise Mela went to check it out.
Attendees are happy to return in person to the 60th edition of the Annecy International Animated Film Festival. This year, the spotlight is on African animation.
I think this festival is really well timed to celebrate African talent because, not just because of COVID, but because of the internet. The playing field has been flattening for a very long time. So some tools which could only be accessed by some people who are able to go to some place to study are now readily available.
From seasoned directors to emerging talents like Malian student Moise Togo, whose film $75,000 shows how animation can be used to explore difficult themes.
It's a film about albinism. There are false beliefs around this in Africa. I mixed live footage with 3D animation.
Annecy also presents the best in children's animation. Produced in the Ivory Coast, the series Kenda tackles educational topics, including the importance of free elections and protecting the environment. Before this year's event, only 47 African films have been screened in the 60 years that Annecy Festival has existed. Organisers hope that this year marks a turning point.
Now, over the last 5 years or so, Nigerian Afrobeat star Mr Eazi burst onto the international scene with collaborations with other huge names like Tiwa Savage and Beyoncé. You'll hopefully recognise some of his biggest hits.
Pour me water, some holy water, make it quench this fire. Everybody want me, make I no fall in love with you.
That's one of my favourites. Anyway, so he'll be taking part in a new digital festival for artists that's tapping into and dissecting the growing global appetite for African artists. It's called Dem Africa. Mr Eazi joins me now from Accra. Mr Eazi, thanks so much for taking time to speak to me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, but I'm very excited to have you on. Now, let's first start off about your personal journey into, making music your business. You actually started off with a business background. How did you end up deciding to take the risk of taking music seriously, professionally?
I mean, it was a hobby that people started to want to pay for. And in 2016, I went to the UK and then I did a show at the O2 Kentish Town. And I saw like almost 2,000 people singing songs that I had made just as a hobby and just put out over the internet. And that was the turning point for me. And for me, it was essentially the same thing. The only difference was now I was selling a service, which is making people happy, making people dance. And I'm selling a brand, which is my own brand, Mr Eazi. So I think it was a smooth transition. I just had to just look at everything from the place of, okay, this is business and as well, and it's fun. It's more fun, actually.
Now, you said that you started off by releasing your music free online. Once you started getting international attention, what had to change in terms of the way that you did business? So you were already big in Nigeria, but by having that global attention, did that change the way your business strategy as a musician?
I mean, definitely just realizing, putting your head around the fact that now you have people in almost 71 countries across the world listening to your music. And, you have not just African kids, but you have people from all races, loads of countries, loads of history listening to your music. And the whole thing changed from, just servicing my home country, Ghana, Nigeria, my country of origin being Nigerian, and just moving it to global. And that's where it becomes really complicated, having to work with multiple teams. But in the end, you get the fulfillment when you get on stage in a country so far away from home and you're singing in Yoruba and people that don't understand the language are singing back at you.
That must be amazing. Now, you actually chose to move to London at one point, as you mentioned there, but you've recently moved back to Ghana. Why is that?
I think my entire career has just been a journey. So my first project was called Accra to Lagos because I started my music in Accra, and then I decided to move it to, after taking over Accra, to move it to Lagos. And so it was Accra to Lagos. I took over Lagos. And then the next phase was Lagos to London. And I actually did move, not just musically or sonically, but also personally, moving to London, soaking up the vibes, putting out a complete awesome body of work, touring, etc., huge collaborations. And now I just felt personally it was time to move back, to where it started from, which is Ghana, and just basically put out music.
Yeah, I'm sure they're glad to have you back on site. Now, when it comes to My Dem Africa, that event that you're taking part in at the end of the month, you'll be giving a lecture to participants about the kind of landscape of the African music industry. What are some of the key points that you'll be trying to get across from your experience?
I mean, some of the key points is just basically talking about how, the consumption of music on the continent is more and more local. I dare to say over 90% of the music being listened to by kids, my fans across Africa, is actually local music. So in Tanzania, it's majorly Tanzanian music. In Kenya, it's majorly Kenyan music. And, obviously Nigerian music is the most preferred. And I'm not just saying that because I'm Nigerian. Speaking about the complexities of doing music business in Africa, complexities of royalty collection, and how, this is, even though the world is just turning their attention, like you rightly said, to African music, it's been bubbling and it's only going to go up from here.
So it's been bubbling for a while, but we have seen Afrobeats leap from strength to strength over the last, half decade or so. How far do you think this goes internationally? Is this global attention just a phase, or do you think Afrobeats, the weight of Afrobeats, is here to stay, like hip hop or raga?
I mean, I think is here to stay. If you speak about raga or dancehall, hip hop, you see that what enshrines the longevity is the culture. So it's not just a style of music. You know, even if you think about reggaeton, it's not just a style, it's not just sonically, but it's the sonics plus the entire culture. And with afrobeats, you see it in, you know, the culture, the languages, the dance, hugely the dance, you know, the flow, the dressing, the lingo. And so I feel like it's more of a cultural movement than just a sonic movement. And so, you know, human beings were nothing but culture, and I think it's gonna stay, and you know, the world is gonna get to listen to more and more artists from across Africa with different sounds.
So I'm going to put you on the spot there. You flew the Nigerian flag a little bit earlier on, saying that you think that Nigerian music, when it comes to Afrobeats, is particularly popular. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think it's down to the music. It's down to the music. We make some of the best music in the world, period. But, you know, not knocking off music. I was recently in Rwanda. I listened to a lot of beautiful artists, especially the new artists. Like there's this guy, Mike, who blew my mind off. But it's just the sheer strength of, again, the music, but also the diaspora. And, you know, Nigerians were so proud of our culture, and everywhere we go, we could even go into a club in Spain and pay the DJ and say, hey, for the next 1 hour, we want to hear only Nigerian music because we want to have fun. So that's just how we are. But hey, the music is good. If the music wasn't good, you know, it won't have flown. But also big love to all the Nigerian creative entrepreneurs who have been investing where, you know, major companies might not be doing as much. But these independent artists like myself have been putting the money where their mouth is, and building, you know, foundations for generations to come. And so we're only reaping the benefits of what some of our predecessors like D'banj, P Square, Don Jazzy had done, Wizkid in recent times, Davido, you know, and it's only going to continue. And now you could see the younger generation even having a more smoother path. You could see more major interest looking on the continent, whereas they wouldn't have looked with this much vigor.
Well, thanks so much, Mr Eazi, for speaking up about the strength of African sounds, and particularly for flying the flags for your home country of Nigeria. That is, though, where I'm going to have to leave it. Thanks for coming on, and also thanks to you for joining Across Africa. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us. Do so again. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
I pay my price. I'm living like I'm in paradise. All of the girls say me sweet and nice. Oh yeah, soon balaja make a throw tonight.